Hello, we're Team Intertech. This is Adam, this is Mike, and this is Tanner, and I'm Tim. We're here to demonstrate Tracker. It's an application to track assets for small distributed teams. Tracker is designed for a niche market. We can track assets such as devices that are tied to a given employee. Let Tanner start on the UI.
Sure. So I can't see the board right now for some reason. But I assume we're on the login page. All right, there we go. Okay, so yeah, here we've got our landing page with, we're using an HTML5 video element, that background there. Everything here is built with the latest and greatest Bootstrap 4.1. We decided on using that because it's the world's most popular front-end library. Used by professional teams all over the world right now. So we all decided to get our hands dirty with that. Those little icons there in the key and the globe, those are actually from the fonts library Iconic. So they're not images, they're actually fonts. So you can easily change the color and the size on those, and they load a lot faster than regular images. So here, if you notice those menu items on the top, both on the home page and anywhere else in our application, every time that page loads, they've got subtle animations going on with those. Those are from the library animate.css. It's pure CSS. There's no JavaScript involved with those. But here we've got our dashboard. This is kind of the, the home console, if you will. This is where you would go if you wanted to adjust settings, access your device categories. As you can see here, we've got, if you click on one of those categories, we've got all of our information listed. We can easily add devices, add manufacturers. And then if we click on our menu items, such as the name, so open up account settings. So we can update passwords, emails, edit current employees that are with the company, edit administrators, the people that have access to our software here. Now, in addition to using Bootstrap to create the UI, we also utilized Sassy CSS. Essentially, there's a way to make our CSS a lot more maintainable so that we didn't have to use a ton of different, one large CSS file. It can be hard to find certain things. So we use Sassy CSS, a bunch of those files. And then to prevent having to manually compile all of those and to use a ton of different HTTP requests, a gulp file to compile, concatenate, and minify all of our CSS and JavaScript files, which significantly reduces the number of HTTP requests we have to make and dramatically increases load time. Gulp was also really cool to use because it sped up development by using a feature called browser sync. Essentially, browser sync, you can set it up so that you can run your project locally, and then anytime you make a change to HTML, CSS, or JavaScript files, it automatically projects and refreshes the browser window so that you don't have to sit there and do all of those things manually. As you're writing code, you can see your changes instantly and make those quickly. Did I miss any functionality, guys?
You want to
Adding
maximize
deleted?
this page, just to show them how it changes depending on how many pixels you have. And then you can also take and go to one of the categories and show that as well.
So it's practical to use on a smartphone as well, because of the adjustments. It makes the buttons easy to click and manage everything.
So then the table's responsive here, so you can take and shrink it down however small it is and still see all the data as you scroll. And then I can take and talk to the back end some. So this is based on ASP.NET, the MVC pattern. And most of the interesting things in here happen in the UI. So Fort Tanner had to put up with 3 back end guys. And there were some disconnects along the way with that. So one of the things that I wish we would have done earlier on this project is work in paired programming. Just because we originally started out where we were working on the back end while he was developing the front end, so there was a little bit of a disconnect there. The other thing that we had a lot of issues with on this was the modals. So if you click on my name for the dropdown, this here is all the CSS and HTML. Click on account, edit employees, and then whenever you click on any of these anchors here, this is when it will actually take and pull the data, put it into a form if you're editing or deleting, or if you're going to create a new, add new, it actually just pulls the fields from the database. And then when you click Save Changes, it will take and push it. But we do that by using a combination of jQuery with Ajax. So that was pretty much new to us. Like, we've done some scripting in ASP.NET, but not to the level this was for handling errors. And for myself, that was one of the bigger challenges on this project. And then you want to talk to redirects?
Database was pretty straightforward, just SQL for pretty much everything, so everything's stored in it, fed from it. The other big issue, in addition to the modals, which seemed to take forever to get figured out and working correctly, was partial views in MVC doesn't allow you to redirect the full page correctly. So we couldn't refresh the categories if you added the category, if you changed the order. So like if we go in here and we edit the, say the desktops for instance, and we switch this to, let's leave it at 10. So you can switch the order, but that refresh was a headache to get to work. And we actually had to do JavaScript to get that fully function instead of MVC, because MVC wants to route you to a separate page, but partial view doesn't allow it. So that one took some time to get fully worked out as well.
Yeah, just the fact, I think that you can add an Ajax function into an HTML document or a Razor document. It was completely foreign to all of us at first, but Adam figured it out, and it's turned out to be the saving grace for our project.
Yeah, and it's actually quite interesting because when we started taking and debugging, inserting the forms into a modal, we ran into several issues in that, and we did several workarounds where we would take and basically create a single page application so everything was on the individual page. So our application is primarily 3 pages. You have your login, you have the dashboard, and you also have the tracking page. And so in the end, this application actually works more traditional to an MVC than it did originally. So we're actually taking and creating our views, and then that view is a partial view that gets stuffed into this model.
The other big change that we switched from with all these issues with the modals and that was originally everything was just hard-coded straight into the page itself. And we decided to switch that to a shared layout just for better functionality instead of having to reuse code. So it's all jumped into a shared layout for the main menu function at the top.
So you're using Gulp and then the sassy CSS? And I guess, so are you compiling that using like a command line? I'm not familiar with how Gulp is combining and minifying everything.
Yes, so how it works is I wrote it's just the file's called gulp.js, and you install that with npm, and then you can set up what kind of tasks you want to run with Gulp. I have it set up so that every time I run the Gulp command in the project group, it finds all of the sassy CSS files, puts them into a main CSS file. Like it takes all of the individual sassy CSS, puts it in one CSS file, and then we've got a number of other CSS files like animate.css, bootstrap CSS, iconic CSS, and it takes those 4 CSS files and then it concatenates them down into one CSS file, and it minifies that as well. Same goes for the JavaScript.
That's awesome. So then anybody can just hit basically like a web page and then it'll automatically kind of run that back-end process? Or did I screw it all up?
It's not a back-end process. It's actually a local development process.
Okay.
So the main point of Gulp is to increase the speed of development. So sassy CSS is a lot easier.
Suspense.
He'll come back,
Different files.
Oh, we lost it for a second.
Sorry, yeah.
Sure, no worries. So, like I said, point of Gulp, increase the speed of development. So instead of trying to maintain one big 1,000-line CSS file, you can break that up into 20, 30 different sassy CSS files. And then, that helps you develop locally. And then you run your Gulp task locally, and that spits out your compiled project into another folder. And then you use that folder to push up to production.
Very cool, very cool. So, assuming you guys use like TFS?
Yep.
Most of it was done through Microsoft, except for stuff Tanner worked on because he's an Apple person.
Yeah. That is a change.
We started with GitHub and went a sprint with that and had some struggles, so back-end guys went back to what they knew and the front-end guy worked with what he knew.
Yeah. I can tell the face could have told the whole story. Okay. Yeah.
There is a functional dev branch of the project that we're trying to get some bot APIs and some other QR code stuff working, because that would be
That was cool.
pretty cool to have in this project, I think.
Well, you guys are using a lot of cutting edge stuff. It's really cool. Really cool stuff. You guys have any questions? Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, that's good. So another question. Are you at a coffee shop right now?
Yeah, and then Starbucks.
That's what I thought. All
I was
right.
on the beach earlier. So.
Yeah.
Tanner moved to Costa Rica recently, so the last 2 weeks, this has been our presentation, is with him remotely.
Jealous.
That's the main thing. Jealous.
So has there been any issues with like the remoting, working with the remote team member?
No.
Yeah.
We use Google Chats.
I
Google
mean, this
Hangouts.
is how we've done most of our remote stuff anyway.
Yeah.
There's all this in Hangouts, so.
We were meeting twice a week, once in school and then once on Sundays, basically, to get up to speed. Kind of doing a scrums every other day too, to let people know what's actually functional, what isn't, what needs to be worked on, that type of thing.
Very cool. We're all good? All right, cool. Good work.